encounters negative, ugly, false, worrisome, fearful, bad, or unlucky events, their spirit will not be uplifted. Not only will it not be uplifted, but it may also cause the spirit to become lethargic and even collapse. This reveals a key insight: if we want to reach the 1000 energy level, we must consciously seek out joyful events and consciously avoid encountering negative events. Positive thoughts: always maintain righteous thoughts and focus on beautiful things. Never harbor evil, sinister, or lustful thoughts. Positive thoughts invigorate the spirit, while negative ones weaken your energy level and are akin to self-destruction. Jesus' teachings like, "Pray for your enemies," and "Forgive others," warn us not to destroy ourselves. The intention to harm others first harms oneself. Such thoughts should be avoided at all costs. Eliminate thoughts of revenge. In life, it is inevitable to encounter situations where one is bullied, oppressed, or exploited by others. While there is a common saying, "A gentleman takes his revenge," even if it takes 10 years, those on the path of Lifechanyuan are enlightened enough to understand that such thoughts are self-destructive. These thoughts have a vibrational frequency of only 30, a state of illness, and a terminal one at that. Never harbor thoughts of revenge. For dealing with bad people or enemies, follow Lifechanyuan values: entrust your life to the greatest creator, entrust your life to the management of the Tao, and focus on moving forward toward the light. Do not worry about tomorrow. The frequency of fear and worry is around 100, which is also a state of illness. Worrying about tomorrow weakens your energy. Concerns about aging without support, illness without money for treatment, children being unable to find spouses, being deceived, or survival are all forms of self-torture. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges. Worrying is futile. Instead, follow Lifechanyuan values, chase the sun, and you can escape the darkness. Stop self-blame. Gold is not pure, and no one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes in life. Once they are made, they are made. It's never too late to mend. Regret and self-blame are useless. Only by revitalizing your spirit and contributing more can you compensate for your shortcomings. Regret, self-blame, guilt, and shame have energies below 30, which are life-threatening emotional states. Erase the past self, reformat yourself, and create a new you each day, moving towards the brightest and most ideal state. Avoid anger. The frequency of anger is only 150. Anger primarily harms oneself, which is a foolish emotion. Learn to forgive others and use Lifechanyuan values. The world is faultless, all faults lie within ourselves. To calm your emotions and joyfully accept everything that happens to you. Focus on beauty. Look at all beautiful things, read high-energy books and articles, and avoid looking at ugly things and reading low-energy materials. TV and movies should not be watched indiscriminately, and books and articles should be chosen carefully. Anything filled with low energy should be avoided, as it will lower your energy level. For example, horror movies induce fear and drop your energy below 100. Stay away from anything that induces sadness, anger, discomfort, despair, or fear. Instead, admire beautiful landscapes, blooming flowers, clear streams, blue skies, and white clouds. Appreciate beautiful people, gentle and cute animals like puppies, kittens, lambs, and deer. Enjoy symmetrical and fresh artworks and watch cheerful characters like Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse. Focus more on truth, goodness, beauty, love, trust, and sincerity, and less on falsehood, evil, ugliness, hatred, cunning, and chaos. Listen to pleasant sounds, enjoy all melodious tunes, music, the sound of wind and rain, reading, singing, bird calls, flowing water, laughter, and affectionate voices. Avoid listening to sounds of shouting and killing, street vendors, arguments, scolding, car horns, machinery noise, harsh sounds, crying, complaints, painful groans, and wailing. It is said that pop songs have low energy, so listen more to timeless classic songs and tunes. Create a high-energy environment. Hang landscape paintings or calligraphy such as the Ode to the Humble Room or the Heart Sutra in your room. Cultivate elegant potted plants, place artistic items, and keep your living spaces clean and orderly to enhance your energy. Engage in uplifting activities, music, chess, calligraphy, painting, and appreciating the beauty of plum blossoms, orchids, bamboo, and chrysanthemums can effectively elevate your energy. Whenever possible, let these activities accompany your life. Practice simplicity, opt for a vegetarian diet, reduce meat consumption, embrace simplicity, reduce luxury, choose a refined style, avoid extravagance, seek calmness, reduce agitation, own less, contribute more. Associate with high-energy people, spend time with those who bring you happiness, freedom, and hope. Engage with spiritually advanced individuals. Avoid people who make you uncomfortable, those who are aimless, gossipers, complainers, cynics, those who complain of imaginary ailments, and those who obsess over money. Avoid associating with people who are overly mystical or eccentric. Stay away from those who are stubborn, easily provoked, or who constantly lament their circumstances. Engage in joyful activities, participate in games, entertainment, dancing, singing, and light-hearted flirtation. Avoid fighting, gambling, and manipulative activities. Limit involvement in political and religious activities, as well as motivational talks. Spend more time in nature and less in markets, bars, and supermarkets. Respect ordinary people more, and bow less to powerful figures, celebrities, or the wealthy. Limit online time. Spending too much time in online groups is detrimental. The longer you stay, the more confused your thoughts become, and the more time you waste. Reading too many online articles can cloud your mind. 95% of online content lacks energy above 200, so it's better to read classics and thought-provoking works that inspire and enlighten. Focus on inner qualities. The level of a person's energy is not strongly related to their education, experience, power, status, wealth, or fame, but is closely linked to their beliefs, intentions, spiritual realm, motivations, words, and actions. Therefore, focus more on your faith, thoughts, spiritual motives, words, and deeds, and less on education, experience, power, status, wealth, or fame. Cultivate positive qualities, maintain rationality, understanding, compassion, reverence, peace, joy, serenity, and bliss. Revere the greatest creator, worship gods and Buddhas, respect life, and be in awe of nature. Engage in romantic and intimate activities. Romantic relationships, affection, and sexual activity can raise your vibrational frequency. Hold the hand of the greatest creator, invite Jesus Christ, Buddha Sakyamuni, and Celestial Laozi into the palace of your consciousness. Worship and honor them. Strive for enlightenment, continuously work towards the eightfold liberation state. The above are just a few details for climbing to the peak of life and life. Great achievements are built on attention to detail, and small streams merge into great rivers. While paying attention to details, don't forget the 3 major checkpoints I outlined in How to Climb to the Peak of Life and Life, namely, building your soul garden, repaying debts and resolving worldly attachments, and accumulating merit. Focus on both the big picture and the small details, and in this way, you can reach the peak of life and life, achieving the sacred state of 1000 in energy level. A blind spot in superstring theory. Xiefeng. October 24, 2005. If we consider the quantum field theory as one leg in a pair of pants and the general relativity theory as the other leg, then the superstring theory would be the waist part trying to connect them. Einstein's general relativity mainly discusses gravity and holds that it does not exist but is the result of the curvature of space. It assumes that space itself is smooth and flat, but when celestial bodies of great mass such as the Sun appear, they cause it to curve inward. It is like pressing hard on a girl's round and smooth face with an index finger, which breaks the smoothness and forms an indentation. The geometric deformation of space gives rise to apparent gravity, which defines it from a macro perspective. With regard to a person or a stone, its mass is too small to deform space any noticeable amount, thus microscopic matter has almost no apparent gravity. The problem with microcosmic matter is that its space is not smooth and flat, but is filled with countless, flying particles which are unable to curve space to produce gravity as huge masses do. The movements of microparticles have nothing to do with gravity, they are the results of electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, and the weak nuclear force. Quantum mechanics appeared when general relativity failed to explain the source of these three forces. Quantum mechanics studies fundamental particles at the microcosmic level. Whether large celestial bodies or grains of sand on the beach, all matter is made of hundreds of types of fundamental particles with masses close to zero but whose trajectories change unpredictably with no rules to follow but are always in motion. Motion is not caused by gravity, but by the three aforementioned forces of nature being converted from the particles. Electromagnetism is converted from photons, the strong force is converted from gluons, and the weak force is converted from bosons. However, the conversion of particles cannot generate gravity, therefore, the quantum mechanics does not explain gravity. The macroscopic world and the microscopic world are unified integral, but general relativity theory which can explain motion at the macroscopic level and quantum mechanics which can explain it at the microscopic level, are not fully compatible. An overall description of the universe can only be had by combining these two seemingly contradictory theories, and this mosaic theory is called the superstring theory. This superstring theory believes that matter is made of molecules, molecules are made of atoms, atoms are made of electron shells and nuclei, and the nuclei consist of protons and neutrons which are made of quarks. What are quarks and electrons made of? Scientists believe that both are fundamental, point, particles which have no internal structures and cannot be divided any further. Superstring argues that these particles do not really exist, but are only strings in motion in space, and a variety of different types of particles are formed by these strings vibrating differently. All interactions between matter and energy can be explained by combining and separating strings, but strings do not move in normal three-dimensional space. Rather, they move in a high dimension of space which is beyond our imagination. Our traditional ideas about space are wrong because space has more than 3 dimensions, maybe 10 or even 26 of them. If this sounds confusing, consider the following scenario. An ant crawls into a shallow pit. It climbs out and goes further until it falls into a deeper pit. It climbs out and continues to go until after some time, it drops into a sand pit. It climbs out, but eventually lands inside a mud pit. These 4 pits are totally irrelevant to the ant which simply comes across them by chance. Living on a 2-dimensional plane, it cannot see the interrelation of the 4 pits, let alone know that they may be related integrally. What is the reality of the situation? These 4 pits are footprints left by an elephant as it ate. 1 foot stood on hard ground, another stood on soft ground, a third in sand, and the 4th was in a pond of rainwater. So there are the shallow pit, the deep pit, the sand pit, and the mud pit. That is to say, the seemingly unrelated pits are actually integral parts of a whole. It is only when we think beyond our 2-dimensional plane to include 3-dimensional height, 4-dimensional time, 5-dimensional retention information, and 6-dimensional space movement and so on, that we begin to understand how these unrelated pits are integral parts left by a single elephant. Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong force, and the weak force are our 4 pits, but they are actually parts of a whole. Superstring theory was conceived to explain their integration. Superstring is the most promising theory to unify our understanding of fundamental particles with the interactions of the 4 forces. Superstring holds that strings are the most basic units of matter and that all fundamental particles such as electrons, photons, neutrinos, and quarks are different vibrational states of energy strings. Superstring combines the 2 major basic theories of the 20th century, general relativity and quantum mechanics, for the first time into a mathematically self-consistent framework. Superstring has the potential to solve long-standing problems that have troubled physicists, including the nature of black holes and the origin of the universe. If experimentation confirms it, then our understanding of the structure of matter, space, and time would change fundamentally. The prospect is tempting and theoreticians are struggling with it, but it seems ridiculous and childish to me because of some major blind spots. They are: how have these strings come into being? How do they move? Could they represent the origin of the universe? How can a unified field theory of the universe be established when the origin of the universe is still unknown? Only Lifechanyuan can answer these questions. A cloud of fog about nature. Xiefeng. November 18, 2019. The universe is a stage for nature, and everything and all phenomena are nature's dances. The true essence of Buddhism is, an enlightened heart is perceptive to nature, perceptive to Buddha. The main theme of the Bloodstream sermon by Master Bodhidharma was that nature, same word as sex in Chinese, is Buddha and Buddha is nature. Without the perception of nature, all teachings of Dharma are demonic talks, and all practicing of magic is demonic conduct. The sixth patriarch, Huineng's The Platform Sutra, says, "Who would know that our nature, essence of mind, Tathagata, suchness, is intrinsically pure? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from becoming or annihilating? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically self-sufficient? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from change? Who would have thought that all things are manifestations of our nature?" From this point of view, we should follow our nature. If so, willfulness is right, and the wayward person is dictated by willful nature, but reality tells us that willful people cannot become immortal or Buddha. To follow one's nature, but not be willful, is a contradiction. This is the fog about nature. Let's take Jiao Yi, Lixin, and Tianxin as examples to analyze willfulness. Jiao Yi is weak-willed, Lixin is medium-willed, and Tianxin is strong-willed. Weak-willed people have their own cognition and ideas about everything, and they always include contradictions and conflicts with Tao. They always want things to develop according to their own wishes, but because they have awe in their hearts, they are still willing to yield even when they are unhappy. Therefore, they can still walk on the way of Tao. Medium-willed people know that they are wrong, but they have strong self-esteem and easily drift between Tao and the mortal trail. If their self-esteem is well protected, they can merge into Tao. If their self-esteem is damaged, they will deviate from the Tao and move toward the trail. Strong-willed people are desperate to act according to their own wishes. Although they might know that they are wrong, their emotions exceed their rationality, and they are unwilling to comply with Tao, let alone succumb to it. Wayward people have generally been spoiled since they were young and have experienced too little frustration in their lives. How does one escape from this nature fog? All speech and behaviors are caused by the trends of nature, and nature is the strongest driving force. Let us observe everything in nature: the loftiness and erecting of mountains, the fickleness and flowing of water, the birth and growth of plants in spring and summer, the fighting and killing of animals, and the fighting and robbing in the human world. All are the deductions of nature. From this point of view, following one's nature and willfulness are both not only problematic, but also dangerous, just like wolves, insects, tigers, and leopards following their natures, and kudo, vine, vitex, and thorns that are willful. From this, the sixth patriarch Huineng's, who would know that our nature, essence of mind, Tathagata, suchness, is intrinsically pure, who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from becoming or annihilating, who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically self-sufficient, who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from change, who would have thought that all things are the manifestation of our nature, are also problematic. The self-nature is not pure, it has birth and annihilation, and it cannot produce everything. Follow one's nature, but what kind of nature? The nature of a devil or that of Buddha, the nature of beasts or that of humanity? Willful, but to follow what will? To follow the will of nature, or to follow that of self, to follow the collective commonality or individual's personality? If you want to become a cat, then you must catch mice when you see them, otherwise you will not be a cat. If you want to become an immortal, then you must follow the immortal nature strictly, or you cannot become one. A cat is not a cat if it is compassionate when it sees a mouse. An immortal is no longer an immortal if his or her heart moans and laments when he or she sees marriages and funerals, or weeping and crying in the mortal world. In order to become a Buddha, one needs to perceive nature, but must not follow one's nature and be willful. If you want to go to heaven, then you also need to perceive nature, but you must not follow human nature and be obsessed with the debauchery of mortal life and the passing clouds in the physical world. Absorption of non-material energy. Xiefeng. October 13, 2012. All life relies on energy to exist. Without energy, life cannot survive. The growth of a plant is determined by the energy it absorbs. A plant that absorbs ample energy grows well, while one that does not receive enough energy will have limited growth, will not bloom, and will not produce full fruit. The same applies to animals. For a person to be healthy, clear-minded, mentally sharp, and to do good deeds, they must absorb sufficient energy. Otherwise, they may become ill, feel depressed, lack vitality, and be listless. Energy is divided into material energy and non-material energy. Non-material energy is further divided into positive and negative energy. Positive energy can make life vibrant and full of confidence, while negative energy can cause a person to become dispirited and lose confidence. The material body needs material energy, while the spiritual and mental body need non-material energy. What people need most is the positive non-material energy for their spirit and mind, and what needs the most attention is preventing and avoiding negative non-material energy. What is positive non-material energy? Answer: faith, ideals, beliefs, love, wealth, happiness, freedom, joy, pleasure, encouragement, praise, smoothness, satisfaction, appreciation and being appreciated, care, affection, harmonious and pleasant interpersonal relationships, health, beauty, goodness, brightness, purity, cleanliness and tidiness, good order, and beautiful environments, etc. In other words, if a person lives in a well-ordered, beautiful environment with bright springtime, harmonious interpersonal relationships, frequently receives praise, encouragement, care, and appreciation from others, experiences smooth endeavors, a satisfying life, encounters agreeable people and things, feels happy and joyful, enjoys freedom and happiness, and is filled with love for life, confidence in the future, and longing for a better life due to strong faith and belief, then this person has absorbed sufficient positive non-material energy. What is negative non-material energy? Answer: poor interpersonal relationships, conflicts, contradictions, struggles, arguments, quarrels, and resentments with others, being bullied, oppressed, exploited, insulted, attacked, ridiculed, and belittled, dirty, chaotic, and poor environments, disorderly conditions, anger, rage, complaints, grievances, and lamentations, the illnesses, negative, pessimistic emotions, information, and rhetoric of those around you, especially those closest to you, stress, and unsatisfactory people, situations, and life, etc. In other words, when a person is in a dirty and chaotic environment, where everything is disorderly and their peace and life are frequently disturbed, surrounded by people who are depressed and dispirited, with tense interpersonal relationships and frequent unjust treatment, experiencing high levels of stress, hearing many complaints and negative messages, and encountering many unsatisfactory and unfavorable people and situations, then that person will lose energy and become disillusioned with life. How to prevent and avoid absorbing negative energy? Escape. If possible, distance yourself as much as possible from people, things, and environments that make you unhappy, uncomfortable, unfree, or unblessed. Stay away from those who are dispirited, lethargic, bothersome, troubling, frequently angry, resentful, complaining, or constantly airing grievances. How to absorb positive energy? Get closer to the greatest creator, gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, and those who consistently bring joy and confidence. Get closer to beautiful, civilized environments, and closer to paradise. Achieving success through heavenly timing, insights from losing my underpants. Xiefeng. March 8, 2023. Last night, the four of us were playing the card game, Struggling Upstream, a Chinese card game similar to Hearts, and I ended up losing all my clothes. Note, in this context, refers to losing all the chips in the game, not stripping off clothes. In the game, losing a round results in losing one chip, and losing 5 chips is considered being stripped off. Winning a round gains you 1 chip. Each player starts with 5 chips for each round of the game. For me, it was an experience of utter defeat, something I hadn't experienced since I started playing the game at the age of 4 or 5. Could it be that my card skills have regressed? No. It's that the Tao has bestowed upon me a profound gift, allowing me to further understand the rules and principles hidden within the seemingly chaotic and disorderly holographic order. The ancient sages have long told us, man plans, and the heavens decide. Before one experiences a thorough defeat, these teachings are merely theoretical without personal experience and realization. Only through experiencing failure or triumph can one truly comprehend their essence. In the control of the Tao, regardless of how exceptional one's card skills are, or how good the cards they hold, they may still lose and be left with nothing, stripped bare. Similarly, regardless of how poor one's card skills are or how bad the cards they hold, they still have a chance to win the game. Just observe people around you. Some may be exceptionally good-looking, yet their lives are miserable. Some may have a humble appearance but live for 100 years in peace. Some may possess exceptional talent and intelligence, yet meet a tragic end. Some may be ignorant and clueless, yet live their lives unscathed. Some may be immensely wealthy, yet end up in prison. Some may live their whole lives in poverty but still enjoy family happiness. I have written an article called Mahjong, Holography and Chinese Culture, which was inspired by playing Mahjong and understanding the underlying principles. Last night, while playing poker, struggling upstream, I further realized the profound connotation of man plans, and the heavens decide. Those who have played Mahjong and poker must deeply feel that in a game with 4 players, the cards you draw each time are different from the last time. Even if you play all your life, it is difficult to draw a hand identical to a hand you previously held. The 54 card combinations are astronomical, seemingly random, disorderly, and chaotic. Yet, each player's outcome is almost predetermined. This is the principle of holography, where hidden within the seemingly chaotic disorder lies strict and elusive rules and principles. Behind these rules and principles, there are mysteries that are unseen, unheard, and untouchable. These mysteries are the truth of holography, but they are not the entirety of the truth. The true core truth lies in Tao's holographic mechanism. Understanding the principles of the holographic mechanism, one will no longer seek quick gains, feel restless, impose one's will on others, or be overly competitive. In the holographic mechanism, the best way to live is to play, entertain, and experience, while everything else is illusory and transient. Only by understanding Tao's holographic mechanism can one become an celestial being. All gains must be paid. Xiefeng. June 4, 2011. One ironclad rule of the universe is that the sum of positive and negative energy must always be equal. One ramification of this is that you must pay for of your gains, they must always balance each other and higher prices must be paid for greater rewards. For an equal amount of gems, diamonds usually demand higher prices than rubies and emeralds. Diamonds require the most money to buy, obtaining more precious things requires you to pay higher prices. By carefully observing human society, it seems confusing and complicated on its surface, totally out of order. However, through careful observation, it can be concluded that what is gained always equals that which has been paid. The more one pays, the more they gain, and the more they gain, the more they must pay. There are no free lunches, nothing in the universe can be achieved without a payment. What is lost at sunrise will be gained at sunset, and what is gained at sunrise will be lost at sunset. As one falls, another rises, rising here and setting there. When one gains money, something must be paid, it might be labor, reputation, peace, or even life. When one pays money, something must be gained, it might be comfort, safety, fame, status, physical beauty, or honor. It makes sense that a loss of money avoids other misfortune. Material payments do not always give you material rewards, they might be mental or spiritual. As such, mental or spiritual payments might gain you material rewards. If you pay something, then you will gain something for it. though it can be hard to understand what or when that will be. If you gain, you will pay something, but no final conclusion can be reached as to what or when that will be either, because it might involve health, safety, promotion, wealth, reputation, status, affection, or other life factors. In order to understand the rule that paying and gaining always balance out, that the ironclad law of the sum of positive and negative energy always equal each other, you must not consider only a short time period, but rather a whole life or even the karma of 3 incarnations to judge and draw a conclusion. Through the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, Allah warned us that if all of one's desires are met in this life, then none will remain for the afterlife. There is never any profit at the expense of others, whether parents, offspring, spouses, or lovers, and regardless of whether you are given something for free, find it on the road by yourself, your boss rewards your work, or you dig it out from deep under the ground on your own, as long as you have gained something, you must pay. Why do people suffer pain and hardships or meet with catastrophes? Because they have gained something. Why are people happy and joyous, and why do they obtain good opportunities and grace? Because they have paid something. What revelation can we get from this principle? Never profit from other people's expenses at any time, never fish in troubled waters, never profit from others' misfortunes, and take nothing for free, not even donations and contributions. No one should ever be under the delusion that they will get something from their husband or wife for free. You must meet all your needs, pay more, and gain less. Once you pay, you are bound to gain, this goes without saying. Whenever you gain something, always remember that a loss is inevitable. You can escape it in the short run, but not forever. You might escape a blow in the mortal world, but you cannot escape punishment from Tao in heaven. To reap more valuable rewards, a higher price must be sown. To reach the kingdom of heaven, you must dedicate everything, your entire body and soul. As the guide of human life and life, I state these words here. You can inspect, test and verify them, but time and results will tell whether or not they are correct. An analysis of the mysteries of the way of nature. Xiefeng. September 18, 2021. Chanyuan celestials follow the way of the greatest creator, that is, the way of nature. So what is the way of nature? The way of nature has the following 8 mysteries. Pregnancy has a time limit, and the delivery time is set. The implication is that everything has a time limit and cannot be surpassed. Once it is surpassed, it is against the way of nature. Application: don't be in a hurry. If you have a wish in your heart, it is the equivalent of you being pregnant. When the wish will be delivered is related to the size of the wish. If your wish is just to have a cup of coffee, it can be realized in a few minutes or a few hours. If your wish is to own a luxurious villa, it may take several years or even decades to give birth. If your wish is to reach the kingdom of heaven, you need to wait for the time of delivery all your life. Sow in spring, cultivate in summer, harvest in autumn, store in winter. The meaning is to keep the timing sequence and don't mess with the order. If the timing sequence is wrong and the order is reversed, it violates the way of nature. Application: different age groups should do the things fitting of their age group. For example, childhood is a time for playing, and the teenage years are for learning. If you study in childhood, you will violate the way of nature, and if you begin laboring as teenagers, you violate the way of nature. Rubbing ropes against wooden boards will cut into them, and dripping water onto stones will wear them down. The meaning is that as long as you focus on something, there will be a moment when things will turn around and you will become suddenly enlightened. Application: concentrate on exploring a certain phenomenon or doing a certain thing, don't be distracted, but wholly devoted. In this way, you will make gains. Reap melon from melon seeds and reap beans from bean seeds. The meaning is that you will reap what you sow. If you sow beauty, you will reap beauty. If you sow ugliness, you will reap ugliness. Application: plant what you need in the future. If you want to go to hell, plant evil. If you want to go to heaven, plant goodness. Merits and demerits must be examined, rewards and punishments must be executed. It means that nothing, no words, or deeds, can escape the eyes of heaven, and rewards or punishments will definitely come in due course. Application: always think of a pair of eyes above your head staring at you, so you must walk on a tightrope when doing things and when speaking, being neither cowardly nor tough. Channels form where water flows, melons' pedicels fall when their fruit ripens. It means that you must have calmness and patience when doing things, and you should not rush for success. As long as you work hard, what you want will come true, and it will come naturally. Application: don't force anything. If you work hard enough, you will achieve it naturally. If you don't work hard enough, what you want will come to a premature end, and you will come out empty-handed. Follow one's nature. This is the way to Tao. It means that our nature is a gift from the greatest creator. If it is a cat, just catch the mouse; if it is a mouse, just dig holes and steal grain; if it is tuberose, just bloom and spread the fragrance; if it is a cow or sheep, eat grass. This is the arrangement of Tao. Doing so is in keeping with the Tao, which is the way of nature. Application: when people ask me whether they should choose A or B, whether they should go east or west, my answer is always, listen to your inner voice and follow your innermost drive. Why? Because the loudest voice and driving force in your heart is the Tao, which is your nature. If you do this, you will become one with the Tao. Tao will manage the birth, growth, punishment, and destruction of everything. It means that when people come to this world, their role has already been determined in the cosmic life script. If the script determines that you are a thief, then you will never become a professor. If the script determines that you are a villain, then it is absolutely impossible for you to be a good person. The Chanyuan celestials I am looking for must be innate, and they cannot be cultivated by education, just like no matter how we cultivate and guide cucumbers, cucumbers will never turn into tomatoes. In the process of human beings playing the role in the cosmic life script, when your turning point comes, you can't hide from it, and it's useless for you to ask for help. If you are destined to be a big villain, that's the arrangement of Tao. You cannot refuse it even if you pray to gods and Buddhas for help. There are various factors and personnel arrangements that lead you to the path of being a great villain. Similarly, the same is true for wanting to become a saint. This is called Tao arranges the growth. There are countless people who have been punished in the world. Who is punishing people? On the surface, people are punishing people, accidental events are punishing people, and natural disasters are punishing people. In fact, Tao is punishing people. The root cause lies in the natural law of, you reap what you sow. If the Tao wants you to grow, no one can destroy you; if the Tao wants to punish you, no one can save you. Application: since it is up to the Tao to arrange your birth, don't try to change it, neither try to change others nor yourself. Since it is up to the Tao to arrange your growth, don't worry, and don't bother to find relationships and backers. What comes will come naturally, and what goes will go naturally. Since it is up to the Tao to arrange punishment, don't hide, and don't complain. Since it is up to the Tao to arrange destruction, just smile and go with the wind. After understanding the secrets of the way of nature, and looking at various phenomena in today's society, we will come to know that all bad phenomena are the results of violating the way of nature. Everyone can take stock and analyze their past and current situation. You will definitely find that your hardships and rough experiences are the result of you being against the way of nature. Analyses of the nature of celestial beings. Xiefeng. November 23, 2019. Following that which is predestined, being open, leaving everything to fate, and being free and unfettered. Conducting yourself limitlessly, following situations, and acting flexibly. Being amorous everywhere but never attaching importance to affection. Possessing nothing yet being totally unfettered. Never doing anything while allowing all things to happen through Tao. Feeling no mercy or pity but being natural and unrestrained. Neither contending nor arguing, but walking with celestials. Behaving with the elegant demeanor of a celestial being, talking cheerfully and humorously. Here, we shall analyze each of the above natures of celestials. Following that which is predestined, being open, leaving everything to fate, and being free and unfettered. Following what is predestined is following one's luck and letting it come naturally. Being open is being bold and open-minded but not adhering to etiquette and customs. Following what is predestined and being open means that whether you live in a 5-star hotel or a thatched house, whether you eat delicacies from the land and sea, genetically modified coarse bread, or even moldy leftovers, whether people you get along with are civilized and reasonable or completely savage and uncooperative, whether you live in a hot place with lots of mosquitoes, or in a cold place lacking vitality, whether you wear brocaded famous branded clothes or torn rags, that you accept what comes to you, always have a peaceful mind, treat things with an open mind, be generous, and do not care about worldly eyes and comments. Leaving everything to fate means letting fate arrange everything. Being free and conducting yourself limitlessly, following the situations, and acting flexibly. Conducting yourself means going forward or stopping. No limits means no boundaries. Conducting yourself with no limits means that, Grand Aunt, as long as I am not hurting any other person, society, or nature, can make myself as comfortable as I choose, and that, Grandpa, under the same rules for proper behavior, can be as happy as I want to be. Following the situations means moving according to situations and changing according to their changes and not sticking to old systems, traditions, dogma, or the scriptures, and the master's preaching. Acting flexibly means managing oneself according to situations. Following situations and acting flexibly means having no fixed precepts or rules in your mind and that no rules and regulations are set in advance. Buddha has no set rules because they always conform to meeting situations. All affairs should be treated, handled, coped with, and ascertained flexibly. Being amorous everywhere but never attaching importance to affection. Being merciful everywhere means that no matter whether dealing with people, animals, or nature, you must be merciful in words and actions, never reaching an impasse, never being merciless, but never saying never. Never attaching importance to affection means not falling into affection, not having too much affection for someone, something, an organization, a person, a party, a country, a system, or a religion. Attaching too much importance to affection will tie you to one of the aforementioned and make it impossible for you to be natural and unrestrained and therefore make it impossible for you to become immortal. Possessing nothing yet being totally unfettered. Possessing nothing means owning nothing at all, not the sky, not the earth, no real estate, no power, no reputation, no relatives or lovers, no organization. Everything belongs to the greatest creator, everything belongs to nature, so I possess nothing, I am united with the greatest creator, with Tao, with all things, and even with death itself. Totally unfettered means having no one and nothing on your mind, that you can go wherever you want and do whatever you want without hesitation, worries, or fear, and that you can stay when you want to stay and leave when you want to leave with absolutely no worries. Because you have nothing, you do not worry about thieves, robbers, people borrowing money from you, being deceived, degraded, nor insulted, nor do you even worry about death. Because you have nothing, there is nothing to contend with and nothing to guard, whether the sky falls, the earth fractures, the sea floods the land, or the land sinks into the sea, you have no anxieties, no worries, life is like a bubble, and everything is as passing clouds. Never doing anything while allowing all things to happen through Tao. Never doing anything while allowing all things to happen through Tao means surrendering your life to the greatest creator and leaving your life to the management of Tao with no ideals, wishes, plans, or pursuits, but trusting that nature will arrange everything, never having any special requirements or anything special to do. You work and rest each day as the sun rises and sets, because all active dharma are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, and shadows. Accomplish doing nothing and attending to non-affairs. If it is funny, play with it; if it is not, do not. If you meet water, then erect a bridge; if you meet a mountain, then open a road; if you meet neither water nor a mountain, then build neither. Do whatever you do with joy and happiness. Drink some tea, enjoy a chat, bask in the sun, or stroll leisurely. Following Tao means taking the way of nature. Family affairs, state affairs, and world affairs are all under the arrangement of Tao. Rewards and punishment, retributions, and the cycles of cause and effect are neither my worries nor any of my business. Never sow in winter or pull up seedlings to help them grow in spring. When it is time to go, be unreluctant to leave. When you should be calm, do not be over-ambitious. Do not expect more wealth than that which you are destined to have. If you are destined to be a shepherd, then never envy princes, marquises, generals, or ministers. Everything is born, grows, will be punished, and will die by nature, so never borrow trouble. Feeling no mercy or pity but being natural and unrestrained. Feeling no mercy means that you are incapable of it and that you can only ignore it. You see cats catching mice, lions tearing antelope apart, eagles scooping rabbits, and mantises attacking cicadas. These conditions are very cruel and make people sad, but can you do anything to stop them? Do you have a better arrangement? You know that you cannot stop them and that you do not have a better plan. You can only hold your compassion and pity. It is the arrangement of nature, so what will feeling pity accomplish? Lifechanyuan has pointed a great way to heaven and created a paradise mode for people, but if they will not listen or take its way, then what can we do? Therefore, look at the suffering in the world. People are crying and shouting, but never waste your energy on mercy or pity. Having no pity means not being sad. Having no mercy or pity means not suffering from pain and grief when you face situations that you are incapable of changing. Of course, we should not have the heart or feelings of gloating over misfortunes. Being natural and unrestrained means being free and easy, unconfined, unworldly, looking elegant, having extraordinary demeanors, not cringing or groveling, not crying from one's grievances, having no entanglements or obsessions, never delaying when you should surrender something or someone, never crying when you should let go, never looking back and being nostalgic when you need to leave, welcoming death with a smile, and never resisting fear. Being natural and unrestrained means that when you face frustrating or unsatisfactory situations, you will not be merciful or sad, but handle them chicly. Neither contending nor arguing, but walking with celestials. Not contending means not competing with others for wealth, power, status, fame, favors, awards, victories, or strength, let alone fighting, arguing, or debating for righteousness or kindness. Not arguing means not discussing, debating, arguing, or opposing others. If you think you are right, then do what you think is right. I will not argue with you about who is right or wrong or correct or false, or about beauty, ugliness, good, or evil, but I will discuss with you about justice and wickedness. Walking with celestials means associating with people who are positive, optimistic, open-minded, and unrestrained, and who bring happiness, joy, freedom, and blessings into your life, but not with those who cry, fuss, whine, complain about grievances, think big, are ambitious, and of course those who frown, are boring, sanctimonious, prim, do not know how to play, have too much trouble, and want to bind you with codependent affection. Behaving with the elegant demeanor of a celestial being. Talking cheerfully and humorously. Behaving with the elegant demeanor of celestial beings has profound meanings. Not only does it refer to having the charm, posture, and the aura of fairies, but also to surpassing the bread and milk of life by enjoying music, chess, calligraphy, painting, poetry, and flowers. It refers more to possessing corresponding survival skills and techniques, the ability and intelligence to solve one's own eating, clothing, housing, transportation, life, old age, sickness, and death problems. I once wrote, 64 Details of Gestating the Behavior and Elegant Demeanor of Celestial Beings. Please refer to it and compare it with this. Talking cheerfully and humorously means talking about the past and the present with great interest and joking and chatting freely. It should be humorous and unrestrained, make people happy and laugh heartily to listen to what we say and do, and make people forget their troubles but feel like bathing in the sunshine as celestial beings coming to earth and as if spring suddenly arrived in one night. There is a lot of more content about celestial nature, but if you understand the above 8 qualities, then you must be a celestial being. Analysis of the Way of Nature. Xiefeng. December 15, 2019. The way of nature is the way of the greatest creator, of non-action and silence, and to harmony and freedom. It is the outline and the law of the universe, and the way of heaven and Tao itself. By following the way of nature, everything would be in order, the weather would be favorable and society would be peaceful. By deviating from the way of nature, everything would be chaotic and disorderly, disasters would occur frequently, the world would be turbulent, and people would be contentious. By fighting against heaven, our suffering would be constant. By fighting against the earth and each other, our suffering would be endless. By fighting against Tao, our abyss of misery would be endless. The way of nature is profound, mysterious, and can neither be measured nor understood by human intelligence. It is full of vitality which can be neither resisted nor refused. The place that obeys it is heaven, but the place that goes against it is hell. Tsunamis, tornadoes, hurricanes, typhoons, gales, thunderstorms, floods, droughts, scorching heat, hail, epidemics, insect plagues, and so on in nature are all caused by human society's failure to follow nature's way and all of its warnings to mankind. Wars, turmoil, fighting, riots, revolutions, dynasties changing, diseases, hunger, and other phenomena that occur in human societies are the results of human violations of nature and are its punishments to mankind. How has human society deviated from the way of nature? Things that bring trouble: pain, anxiety, sorrow, horror, fear, sadness, or despair to people but cannot make them happy, joyous, free, or blessed deviate from the way of nature. I hereby affirm that the developments and inventions of science and the inventions and applications of all tools do not deviate from the way of nature. The 5 main things that deviate from it are as follows. Legal systems with laws, judges, and lawyers have all violated the way of nature. Western societies that govern themselves with artificial laws deviate from the way of nature. Look at the plants, animals, and insects. They have never needed laws or legal systems, but are they not running well? With judges and lawyers, human societies lose their natural attributes and human nature becomes forced into distortion. The people who want to build several houses on their own land are regulated and restricted, and people's attributes of truthfulness, goodness, and beauty are restricted and controlled by laws. The existence of countries violates the way of nature and is equivalent to artificially building a high wall to imprison people within this big prison called nationhood. Migratory birds migrate freely, so why cannot people? According to the principles of nature, human societies must have governments, but just as bee and ant queendoms have bee and ant queens, governments should only be symbols to unite people's hearts, not organizations to manage and regulate them. When governments expand out of proportion and implement their wills upon every aspect of human life, then they completely deviate from the way of nature. The more problems they create, the more bitter their people become, and this is where those governments develop strong wills and subvert the way of nature. Fewer problems exist and people live in peace and contentment when the government has complied more with the way of nature. Our marriage systems deviate from the way of nature because they bind couples together forcibly. They conform to neither the laws and principles of nature nor to those of human nature. If they did, then there would be no phenomena of cheating and betrayals. The thoughts and practices of trying to change other people and their natures go against the ways of nature, such as mutual torture and devastations between married couples, mutual condemnation and strife between political parties, mutual hostility and competition for believers among religions, mutual restrictions and sanctions between countries, and human transformations of nature, such as reclamation of the sea, deforestation of forests, building hydroelectric dams, and transforming rivers. Grasslands, wetlands, lakes, deserts, and so forth. All of these thoughts and behaviors violate the ways of nature. All success studies, nutrition studies, talent studies, prenatal teaching, fast learning, doctrines, truth studies, Western medicine, cloning, and so on violate the way of nature. Violations of the way of nature will definitely be punished by it. The way of punishment is to make people suffer, fear, despair, and even die through disasters. Human intelligence will attend to one thing while losing another. The way of nature is the only law that mankind should obey. People in the 1,000-year world and 10,000-year world follow it purely, so everything is peaceful, safe, warm, and satisfying there. Attempting to follow nature would confuse people. They would ask an unlimited number of questions about how issues would be handled. Without countries, who would protect us from them? Without legal systems, who would handle disagreements and resolve disputes? Without political parties, who would manage our lives? How can humans reproduce without marriages? Were people allowed to migrate without controls, would they not all move to the prosperous big cities? Without controls, would the human population not expand indefinitely? Without the police, would people not destroy the ecology and misbehave, and would bandits and robbers not be everywhere? Without strong interventions and restrictions, would we not fight for resources everywhere, and would armies not appear and vassal states not arise that would conquer and kill people everywhere? To eliminate these doubts and obtain answers, we should neither read the writings of human thoughts nor imitate the experiences of human history, but read the books without words, read the heavens, the earth, and all of nature. Were there no humans on this earth, would the kingdoms of plants, animals, and insects have any of these problems? Of course not. We would discover the principles of mutual generation and restraint of the way of nature, its principle of natural regulation, and discover that when anything goes to excesses or extremes, a restraining force always comes into being. If you think that human beings following the way of nature would move them toward the law of the jungle, then look at the state of the 1,000-year world of heaven and we will surely learn sensible, reasonable, and legal answers from it. Another conversation with the king devil, Satan. Dayform Celestial. December 11, 2019. It was 3 o'clock on the morning of December 11, 2019 when I passed through a space-time tunnel and entered the palace of the king devil. I saw how brightly it was lit and that it was radiating a brilliant illumination, splendid and magnificent, grand yet solemn, and the guards in front of the door were all handsome, spirited, brave, and mighty. In the palace, a guard stood every 3 steps and a sentry every 5 steps. Handsome men and beautiful women walked in and out and everything was in order. When I came to the gate of the palace, one of those enchanting women came to greet me and told me that the king knew I was coming and was waiting for me in the hall. After passing through many corridors, we finally entered his hall as I then gazed upon a jade-red throne at the top of several dozen steps. It was inlaid with countless gems that were crystal clear while radiating colorful and dazzling lights. On the throne sat a beautiful, peerless man with an imposing appearance, handsome, natural, and divine. 16 women stood beside him and they were all extremely beautiful, sexy, charming, and glamorous. The ground and the walls were all made of pure gold, magnificent and impeccable. The king devil stood and looked down upon me from a high place and asked, "How are you, Dayform Celestial? Have you come here to surrender to me, or to steal my magic?" I stood below, looking up at him with a smile, and replied, "I am surely here to find fault with you." The king devil laughed, "You tiny celestial dare to find fault with me, it is very courageous of you. Is there a problem?" I replied cautiously, "Most worthy of gods who penetrates everything, how could I be qualified to find fault with you? I would not dare even if I had 100,000 times my courage. It is just that I missed you, so I just decided to drop by and ask for a cup of tea." Lies. The king devil feigned anger and turned his head with a growl. Then he smiled and tried to persuade me, "Dayform Celestial, why not come here to enjoy my glory and wealth and forget about your tireless task of reaping ripe crops? Even if you could go to the celestial islands in the future, how could it ever be as glorious as my palace? Rather than answering him directly, I decided that this would be a good time to answer a question with a question. Most worthy of gods, you have neither thieves nor robbers here, so why do you keep such tight security at your door, a guard at every third step and a sentry at every fifth? They are so majestic, they show how powerful I am, and I just like having them, the king devil replied. But there are no blue skies or white clouds here, nor trees, flowers, or grass. It is all jewels. I still think that the celestial world is better, I continued. The king devil replied leisurely, it seems that you have not escaped from your mortal world. What do you think of my women here, the most beautiful, enchanting, and sexy women anywhere? This is the Western vision of paradise. Remember the Garden of Eden? It was created by me. The blue skies, white clouds, green mountains, blue water, wildflowers, and countless rare and exotic fruits, but Adam and Eve could not enjoy its blessings. Did humans not ruin it? I was a little puzzled and asked a little confused, is the God in the Bible really you? The king devil then asked, the whole world is under my rule, other than me, are there any other gods? Then the God that all mankind has worshipped for thousands of years is you. Are you not afraid that the greatest creator will punish you? The greatest creator will never punish me because it is my dedicated burden to maintain the dynamic balance of life in the universe. In the human world and in hell, I have the right to do whatever I want. Only Jesus and you, deformed celestial, keep ruining my plans. Jesus has been punished and driven away by me, and you will have no better luck. So, one of my eyes is blind, is this your punishment for me? I like your lecherous character, so I just punished you slightly, maybe I will blind your other eye, do you believe me? I surely believe you, but most worthy of gods, I also have my mission, and I cannot help myself, besides, I only take 1 or 2% of human lives away, or as few as 1 in 1,000 or even 1 in 10,000 and I am not going against you, you will not be cruel to me, will you? The king devil said with a serious face, do not pretend to be pitiful here, do not wish for me to be compassionate, justice has long arms, so do not dream of escaping from my net of justice. I will chase you and all of your Chanyuan celestials and exhaust them and you will all continue to reincarnate obediently. I was a little bit depressed and complained, most worthy of gods, is it your rhythm that you will kill everyone? Nonsense, the king devil said a bit angrily, when have I killed anyone? I have never hurt a fly. The situation and results of every life are for their own sake and they cannot blame me for anything. In that case, can I still have hope and opportunity to take some people to heaven, can I asked innocently. While the priest climbs a foot, I climb 10, whether you can pick them up depends on the depth of your spiritual character, the king devil answered. Do you mean that you will no longer set up but manage to escape? If you want to take some, it will not be more than 200 or 300. My ways of preventing them are diverse, strange, and unpredictable. People are slaves to money, so I will stop over 80% of them with that, then, another 5% can be stopped with the offer of power, then reputation, status, beauty, affection, and love will stop another 7% to 8%, then, I will use poverty, hunger, war, illness, fear, death, and so on to stop 7% to 8% of them. Finally, the Psychedelic Academy will make your remaining members drunk on gong, magic arts, and powerful spells, that will stop most of the remaining ones. If necessary, I will make a few godlings appear in the world to show supernatural powers and magical arts to people in order to confuse those who have chosen you. Do the math, how many are left for you to take away? These are just my open methods, I also have countless secret tricks. What are those secret tricks, you, most worthy of gods, could you tell me a few, I begged sincerely. Deiform Celestial, you want me to reveal my mysteries by negligence without knowing them? You underestimate me too much, do not play on your cleverness. Small tricks in front of me, can I tell you my secret tricks? If I told them to you, would I still be the king devil? Thank you for your teaching, but I have a request. I have only reaped 200 or 300 Chanyuan celestials across more than a decade. Could you be lenient to these 200 or 300 Chanyuan celestials and let me take them away smoothly, I begged. You are absolutely crazy, it is your idiotic dreaming, you want to make a deal with me. Do you think I am a human? I am a god. I must abide strictly by the laws of heaven, and never allow any to pass. Are you not building a home? Build one, and I will destroy it, build another, and I will destroy it too, build many, and I will destroy them all until you are impoverished, downhearted, lose all your confidence, and return to my devil's way. If I cannot destroy you with external forces, then I will get into your heart, your consciousness, your blood, and your bone marrow to fully mobilize your demon, animal, and human natures, so that you will guard against, be suspicious of, torture, and destroy each other, make a foul stench of your home, and eventually wear you down. I will make people call you a liar, a scam artist, a rapist, a seductive hypocrite, a villain who destroys families, and a man with the evilest of intentions. If necessary, I will use the state dictatorship machine to arrest you. Do you still have any hope for your Chanyuan celestials to escape from my trap? Hearing what the king devil said, I collapsed to the floor feebly, as if my whole body was drained of blood. My tears rushed out, I wanted to curse the king devil. I was ready to shout out when I woke up in a cold sweat from that horrible nightmare. Brains, minds, consciousnesses, and the great universe. Xiefeng. Brains are the bridges between consciousnesses, minds, and the great universe. The great universe that is seen, heard, smelled, tasted, and felt is processed by brains into minds. Brains would die without the great universe. Brains can be activated by observing and experiencing the great universe, and they will become quicker and smarter thusly. That is why we have the saying, read 1,000 of books and travel 1,000 miles. Apart from interpreting sensations, the brain is also capable of thinking. The closer we look, the deeper we feel about the things and phenomena that we sense, the more developed our brains become, and the more powerful our minds become. Our minds are determined by the information and data provided to our brains which come from the great universe. That is to say, the great universe that a person experiences determines the person's mind, which is why there are wolf children and deer children, as well as the origin of the belief that the bel esprits reside on green mountains with sparkling water while rogues live on barren hills with turbulent rivers, and the reason to keep the company of good people and you shall be counted among their numbers. From this we can draw the conclusion that the environment creates human minds. Different environments create different life. The environments of animals bring up animals. The human environment brings up people. The environment of celestial beings brings up celestial beings. The environment of Buddha brings up Buddhas. This environment known as the Great Universe includes both the material world environment and the non-material world environment, the reality environment and the super-reality environment. The reality material environment is the great universe that we see, hear, smell, taste and feel. The super-reality non-material world includes the great universe written in books, sent to computers and TV screens, dreamed by our subconscious minds, and imagined in our minds. Always remember that you can know the principles and ways to have a sublime life, but you must live in the corresponding environment of life level in order to achieve the life in which you desire to be. Those who are surrounded by animals and animals' environment are animals. Those who are surrounded by people and people's environment are people. Those who are surrounded by celestial beings and celestials' environment are celestial beings. Those who are surrounded by Buddha and Buddha's environment are Buddha. Those who are surrounded by gods and gods' environment are gods. People who live with people in the human world for a long time cannot become celestial beings or attain Buddhahood. If one wants to go there, they must live in environments that possess those attributes, live in their worlds. The new oasis for life created by Lifechanyuan is the environment of celestial beings where celestial beings live. So, if you want to become a celestial being, you must live in the new oasis for life. A brain cannot exist independently, but a mind can. A brain is restrained by the material world, but a mind is not. A brain is material, but a mind is non-material. People carry the genes of consciousness information from many previous lives. The good and bad of the root of wisdom rely on the consciousness of their genetic information. That is the origin of the so-called genius. Generally speaking, people who have never lived in heaven in any of their previous lives cannot become a celestial being or attain Buddhahood and will have to go through the same difficulty as someone who wants to become a singer but has a rough, untuned voice. Genius is not cultivated, but is innate. The so-called innate means that they have acquired certain qualities throughout many previous lives. The so-called life is the soul, and the so-called soul is consciousness. Consciousness determines the nature and level of life. Therefore, a brain is a channel for information from the great universe to enter a mind. A brain is dead without the great universe and cannot survive without it. Minds are independent and can exist even without the great universe. The great universe can be created by a mind. The great universe plays a decisive role in the formation of minds. In order to attain the mind of a celestial being or to attain Buddhahood, one must associate with celestial beings and Buddhas and live in their world. Chanyuan Celestial's Departure Speech for the Second Stage of Lifechanyuan. Xiefeng. March 3, 2014. My heart is pure and serene, without resentment or hatred. For what I have done in the past, I have repaid all beings, without regret toward heaven or my conscience. The difficulties I have encountered are due to karmic retribution, the arrangement of the Tao. I accept them gladly, with no grudges, and my spirit is clear and bright. Today, I set out with renewed vigor, starting from scratch, without any regrets. My heart is pure, and my future is bright. My debts are paid, and the merits are recorded. The fairy world and the Buddhist Pure Land are my home. I proceed with ease, finding joy in new beginnings. Saying farewell to the past and welcoming the future, creating something from nothing, every place is an oasis. My heart is joyful, and the path is clear. Parting from my hometown and loved ones, I am originally a celestial being and Buddha, untainted by worldly emotions. My ties to the secular world are severed, and my heart is at peace. I am originally selfless, descending into the mortal world not of my own will, but by the decree of the heavenly Tao. May my loved ones not be troubled by me. As for the future, it is up to fate. No matter where I am, I will naturally follow the Tao, and my words and actions will align with nature. Planting grass and trees is my nature. Living among flowers, the spiritual essence endures. Under the moon and among flowers, the sound of flutes and pipes is heard. Life's journey is a fleeting illusion, passing quickly. It is but a glimpse, and I move forward gracefully towards eternity. In the garden of my soul, the mountain flowers bloom brilliantly. The weeds have been removed, and it is beautifully adorned. What the world desires, I have already experienced. I do not linger in the hustle and bustle. Fame and fortune are like dust, and worldly love is foul and stinking. With the guide ahead, there are new realms to discover. Spreading a palmful of sand, green trees emerge. Holograph gives birth to the heart, and mysteries abound. Consciousness precedes, structures emerge, and energy follows, marvels appear. Reaching the heavens and the earth, the games are endless. I am a rare flower of the heavenly kingdom, untouched by the worldly hustle and bustle. Amidst 1,000 miles of frozen land, I bloom gracefully with celestial beauty. The clouds on the horizon connect with the sacred mountain, offering infinite scenery and boundless skies. The fourth level of meditation links to the celestial abode, and the celestial islands are not far from sight. Chatting about the difference between foresight and short-sightedness. Xiefeng. February 2, 2022. The farther we look ahead, the simpler and lighter life becomes, the closer we focus, the more complex and burdensome it becomes. Are you considering tomorrow's life? Or are you thinking about life 10 years from now? How about 60 years from now? Or even 100 years from now? Imagine ourselves standing at a crossroads, with one path led by a president saying, "Follow me, and I will give you a position in government." Another path led by a billionaire saying, "Follow me, and I will make you rich." Then, a pastor saying, "Follow me, and I will lead you to heaven." Finally, a philosopher saying, "Follow me, and I will help you discern right from wrong." Which path should we choose? This decision involves a person's perspective. As we have already clarified, the longer the time limit for thinking about outcomes, the clearer our thoughts become, and the brighter our future becomes. Conversely, the shorter the time limit for thinking, the more confused we are about the future. At the same time, we know that tigers will never grow wings. We should never fantasize about having all the advantages. Thus, when making choices, we know that following the president will only secure tomorrow's benefits, following the billionaire will secure benefits 10 years from now, following the pastor will secure benefits after death, and following the philosopher will ensure that we live a clear and straightforward life. Now, who are you ready to follow? Is there anyone thinking, "I'll follow the president first, maybe I can gain a position, make money, go to heaven, and live a clear life"? If you think that way, it proves that your thinking is unclear, and the issue of foresight and short-sightedness does not even arise. You are a muddled individual, a patient with schizophrenia, living in a fantasy world because such a thing is almost impossible. The vast majority of people in humanity lack foresight. They drift with the wind, pursuing immediate benefits, saying, "Whoever offers me the most money, I'll follow them," or "I'll follow whoever can provide me with comfort, excitement, and pleasure." Or, "I'll follow whoever can give me a government position," or "I'll follow whoever has the highest reputation." These are all short-sighted behaviors. It's similar to many parents helping their children choose a college and major based solely on which one will best secure a job with a higher salary after graduation, a very short-sighted approach. Foresight means knowing the future outcome of a certain phenomenon. The longer the time span of knowing the result prison 10 years later, and so on. These are all instances of foresight. Short-sightedness, on the other hand, means prioritizing immediate benefits without considering the future consequences. For example, polluting rivers and exploiting others for personal wealth, giving up faith for personal safety and gain, betraying close friends and family for promotion, willingly singing praises to the devil to avoid risks, distorting facts, and confusing right and wrong for the sake of promotion, and being opportunistic without principles. These are all forms of short-sightedness. The benefits of foresight are avoiding pitfalls, being proactive in taking preventive measures, and maintaining confidence in the future even during extremely challenging times, instead of compromising one's principles to ally with wrongdoers and assist in their evil deeds. The tragedy of short-sightedness is that it may bring temporary gains and secure personal interests. However, when circumstances change, they might encounter troubles or even disasters. Anyone only considering immediate benefits or benefits 3 to 4 years ahead is undoubtedly short-sighted. Those considering benefits 10 years or longer ahead are surely individuals with foresight. Anyone considering benefits 100 years ahead is extraordinary and no longer an ordinary person. As for those considering benefits thousands, tens of thousands, or billions of years ahead, they are surely gods, Buddhas, or immortals. Clear thinking leads to a smooth life and a promising future. Xiefeng. February 1, 2022. I mainly study the books without words. The natural phenomena and social changes are books without words, and people are also books without words. Reading people is like reading books without words. After studying many individuals, I've noticed a pattern: the clearer and more organized one's thinking, the smoother their life tends to be. Conversely, a disorganized mind leads to a difficult life. A core factor for an unsatisfactory life is a confused thought process. If one's thinking is muddled, their life is bound to be turbulent. From this, we understand that to make our life smoother, our first step should not be to pursue external success, but rather to adjust our thinking. Once our thoughts become clear, a smooth life will naturally follow. To predict someone's future, don't focus on their wealth, status, or facial features and physiognomy based on the 8 characters, Ba Zi. Instead, pay attention to the clarity of their thinking. If their thoughts are unclear, their future will likely be chaotic. If their thoughts fluctuate between clarity and confusion, their future will be a mix of success and failure. However, if someone's thinking is consistently clear, even reaching a state of profound understanding, their life will not only be smooth but will also lead them to a heavenly realm. The direction a nation or a country is headed can be determined by the clarity of the thinking of its citizens, especially that of its leadership. If the thinking is unclear, without a doubt, the future of that nation or country will be in turmoil. On the contrary, if the thinking is clear, the future will be bright, leading to prosperity and success. If you don't believe my viewpoint, you can randomly select an elderly person and observe whether their life has been smooth or not. If it has been, then check the clarity of their thinking. Without a doubt, it will be clear and organized. Take the case of a high-ranking official who has been steadily advancing in their career for over a decade. Suddenly, they commit a crime and are imprisoned, and their assets are confiscated. They experience a major setback. Is this a result of clear thinking or confusion? Undoubtedly, it is due to unclear thinking, as they believed that being in a position of power allowed them to act with impunity. Their lack of clear thinking led to this outcome. When someone writes an article, if it lacks focus, is rambling, has disjointed arguments, and is full of loopholes, without a doubt, their thinking is unclear, and their life will certainly not be smooth. Anyone who follows such an individual, no matter how many people he attracts, will ultimately suffer. Similarly, look at a person's living environment. If their bedroom, yard, and surroundings are dirty and messy, with garbage scattered everywhere, clothes and bedding left in disarray, and dishes piled up in the sink, there is no need for further analysis. Their thinking is undoubtedly unclear, and their life will match their environment, chaotic and disordered. How to make one's thinking clear? This question is too broad and extensive to be fully revealed in a few sentences. It involves one's past merits, faith, worldview, values, and outlooks on life and life. However, one point worth considering is to read more books, travel more, observe more, and engage in deeper contemplation. Extend the scope of your thoughts as far as possible into the distant future. For example, the results of thinking about something 1 year ahead will be different from thinking about it 10 years ahead, and thinking about it 100 years or even 1,000 years ahead will be entirely different. The longer the time span of your thinking, the clearer your mind will become. Short-term thinking leads to scattered thoughts, and as a result, your mind cannot be clear. Conversely, long-term thinking leads to a clear mind, short-term thinking leads to confusion. Cognition within the same dimension cannot resolve internal conflicts. Xiefeng. May 17, 2023. Can those who love marriage and family solve the series of conflicts and crises that occur within them? The answer is, impossible. It's like standing in a muddy pit and trying to clean your feet, it's not possible. Just as a mouse cannot solve the crisis of being caught by a cat with its level of cognition, and just as a patriot cannot build a world of great harmony. It's as futile as a fish trying to fly to a forest to settle in and sing. Farmers cannot solve their own contradictions and crises, and likewise, workers and intellectuals cannot solve their own contradictions and crises. Similarly, a nation, a country, a political party, and a religion cannot resolve their own contradictions and crises because cognition within the same dimension cannot solve conflicts within that dimension. Humanity itself cannot solve its own contradictions and crises because human cognitive ability is limited by time and space. It always tends to focus on one thing at the expense of others. When one contradiction is resolved, it will sow the seeds of another 8 contradictions, and when one crisis is resolved, it will give rise to 8 more crises. People coming from other places can easily discover the deficiencies and shortcomings of the local area. People from developed areas can easily find business opportunities and make money in less developed regions. The contradictions and crises of an underdeveloped or even impoverished country need people from developed civilizations to resolve them. Humanity's contradictions and crises require extraterrestrial beings to solve. From this, we understand a principle: to resolve conflicts, confrontations, and crises, do not seek solutions and approaches within the same dimension. Internal contention results in an increase in entropy, leading to rigidity and death. Instead, actively and proactively introduce people and cultures from different dimensions to overcome one's own contradictions and long-standing problems. The more pronounced regionalism, nationalism, and patriotism, the less conducive it is to resolve one's own contradictions and crises. This principle also applies to individuals. The stronger the ego, the better one feels about oneself, and the more reluctant one is to listen to others' advice, the greater the hidden crisis on the path of life. Because individuals cannot truly know and understand themselves, those around them are more aware of their situation. When a person rejects the advice of others and stubbornly insists on their own course of action, crises and dangers await ahead. Therefore, when a person is troubled, suffering, and worried, the best approach is to abandon their own cognition and seek external methods to solve the problems. If one always believes they are right and refuses to listen to others' advice, their troubles, suffering, and anxieties will not decrease but instead increase. In conclusion, Feng. August 8, 2020. You know it very well and very clearly in your heart, but there is nothing you can do, but you have to say what you do not want to say or do, take the way you do not want to take, and continue dealing with people with whom you do not want to deal. In the end, you will find that there is no one to either condemn or praise, because if you were placed in that background, you would do the same. When you finally see that the messenger of the greatest creator is washing the toilet, that God is being nailed to a cross, that Buddha is weeping, that the emperor is the stupidest person around, that billionaires are starving to death, that the hottest and most powerful figures in the world are thrown into jail, that those who are proficient in history become obsequious for a bowl of rice, that very hard-working people are living in poverty, that ignorant and incompetent people are living well, and so on and so forth, then you will finally know that life and life have constants and that the universe has a balancing mechanism. Do not envy others, do not look down on anyone, let alone lament your fate and be ashamed of yourself, because everything is balanced by constants. Do not be complacent because you are fully satisfied or content because unexpected big sticks will fall down at any time and strike you dizzy. Do not despair because of hardships either, because no one knows whether the God of happiness may come to you in the next second and your life will turn bright. I see that life's constant is working, and that is the adjustment of the universe's balancing mechanism which no force can contain. What are constants? They are quantifications, the laws of repeated operations, natural and invisible phenomena, and universal laws that exist throughout the universe. In mathematics, they include pi, the golden ratio, and the Pythagorean constant. In physics, they include standard atmospheric pressure at sea level, the gravitational constant, the mass of particles, and so forth. In chemistry, they include the molecular formula, molecular weights, melting and boiling points of everything, density, the refractive index, purity, and so forth. Since constants are universal phenomena, there is no doubt that life also has them. For example, physical death is a constant that can be changed by neither desire nor effort. The numbers of breaths and pulse beats, and the lengths of lives must also be constants, even the number of times that one can have sex must be a constant. It is like the facts that the numbers of bones, eyes, legs, and hairs on human bodies are certain. The most difficult things to determine are the constants of life. In terms of constants, how many blessings will a person enjoy, how many hardships will they endure, how much wealth will they have, will they be respected and loved by many people, how much good luck will they have in adventures with the opposite sex, how many children will they have, how many people will they meet and love, will they travel abroad, will they live in a villa, will they become officials, and how high will their ranks be, what kind of lives will they experience, and will they become a Buddha, a celestial, or whatever? These are all constants. Do you believe in life's constants? I do. Yesterday, I went to the Kamloops hospital, which is more than 230 kilometers away. This is a large, high-end hospital where most people wore masks because doing so during this epidemic is said to reduce their risk of infection, but I did not wear one because I believe in life constants. My creed is, if you were supposed to die, then you would die even if you wore a mask that covered your entire body completely. If you were not supposed to die, then you would not die, even if you were immersed in a tank full of viruses and wanted to. What should happen will happen, you can run but you cannot hide. If it did not work this way, then pi would not be the constant of 3.141, 592, 653, 589, 793, 238, 462, 643, 383, 279, 502, 88, but maybe 3.2. Is this possible? Of course not. From this, I think of the balance mechanisms of the universe. Energy conservation is a common sense that we all understand. The sum of all positive and negative energy in the universe is always its equilibrium point, 0. Anything that reaches an extreme will always return to it, and the development and change of anything is never allowed to escape too far from it. We figured out this truth from the phenomena of human life. If you enjoy too much when you are young, then you will suffer when you are old. If you talk too much, then you will be shut up in the end. If you eat too much fish and meat and waste much on the dining room table, then one day you will be hungry or might even starve to death. Those who beat others will eventually be beaten, and those who hurt others will eventually be hurt. If you own too much, then you will be fretted continuously, even to the point of having to spit out all you have. If you are too complacent, then you are bound to look bad in the end. In front of constants, gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings cannot escape from being constrained, let alone human beings. Saddam Hussein, the commander-in-chief of the Iraqi armed forces, never expected to be hanged when he flaunted his might. Do you think that you are more powerful than Saddam was? Is there a way to balance? Yes. That is, the way of the greatest creator, the way of nature. Is there a way to escape from being constrained by constants? Yes. That is, selfless dedicating and giving. Cosmic Holography II. Xiefeng. November 3, 2005. Cosmic holography means that the universe really is alive, that everything in the universe shares the same breath and destiny, and that any local change, directly or indirectly, affects its entirety. A storm on Mars can cause colds on Earth, the death of a whale in the Pacific Ocean can cause grief in Nile River fish, and a butterfly flapping its wings in Alaska can cause a storm in the Cape of Good Hope. This is an extreme and exaggerated expression, but it conforms to theory of cosmic holography. An article by Xiefeng will inspire the awakening of human consciousness as a whole. This is an extremely exaggerated expression, but it conforms to theory of cosmic holography. The purpose of understanding things is not only to appreciate them, but also to use them to serve us and to maximize our freedom. Taking the way of the greatest creator is not for suffering or enduring hardship, but to maximize our enjoyment of life, and to obtain more joy, pleasure, and happiness. To understand cosmic holography is not only to enrich our own knowledge, because gaining knowledge is not our purpose, but to apply it to serve ourselves and others. How can we make the knowledge of cosmic holography help us to navigate through life? Since the universe is holographic, the greatest creator, gods, and Buddha are all in us because we are the cells of each of them. A cell contains all the information about the universe as a whole, and in the same way, devils also live within us. When our hearts are filled with love for all lives in the universe, then we have the character of the greatest creator, and when we show mercy to all lives, then we have the character of God and Buddha. But when our hearts are filled with hatred, weighing and balancing everything for our own self-interests, then we take on the character of devils. Since the universe is holographic and each cell contains the information of the whole, then by understanding and appreciating ourselves, we can know all the mysteries of the universe, sense future changes and trends of the universe, and acquire information about the universe's past, all from our own present. Since the universe is holographic, it shows that our memories exist not only in our brains, but also in each cell of our whole bodies, and even in the space and time of the entire universe. Our brains are just sensors, and through it, we can extract records from hundreds, thousands, even millions of years. We can not only trace our own history over the past millennia, but maybe even recall the historical process of the evolution of the universe. Whether Tuebe 2, less prophecies, divination before saddle horses, Mayan or Martian prophecy, Tibetan remote sensing prophecy, revelations, or any other prophetic manuscript, they are all evidence of cosmic holography. They prove that people are able to accurately predict the future as well as to recall images after several years, decades, and even centuries. Since the universe is holographic, we humans are able to see the entirety of the universe, to see the Milky Way system and the planets. That means that you reap what you sow, good will be rewarded with good and evil will be punished with evil, and that causation is the iron law of the universe, so we can believe firmly that we will receive the proper return for our self-refinery and self-cultivation. The dream world is the symbol of holography, which proves that we live in other spaces at the same time and that we are just a fragment of the holography of this moment. Based on how we feel and express ourselves in reality, we can know where our other self or selves live. If one has Buddha nature, then their negative self is in the Elysium world. If one is cultivating themselves to become a celestial being, then their negative self is in the Celestial Islands continent or the 10,000-year world. If one yearns for a free, joyous, and blessed life without family relationships, then their negative self is in the 1,000-year world. If one has deep love for the human world, then their negative self is elsewhere within the mortal world. If one enjoys fighting, striving, robbing, and seizing, or the law of jungles, then their negative self is in the animal world. If one enjoys dark and selfish activities, then their negative self is in hell. In a brief history of time, the great scientist Stephen Hawking realized that there is an anti-universe, with anti-humans, and quantum mechanics vaguely detects antiparticles. For particles and antiparticles, however far apart they are, they seem to connect, and they can respond to each other and interact instantly. Therefore, we can infer that every Chanyuan celestial's negative ego, or anti-ego, is in heaven. What we need to do now is improve our consciousness, bring it into closer alignment with heaven, and return to our home. That is to say, to leave our mortal consciousness and let our subconsciousness return to its source. Since the universe is holographic, we are not afraid of death. As long as consciousness exists, we can incarnate trillions of times, and project ourselves into boundless worlds. I am the universe is me, so we can attain Buddhahood. With regard to this cosmic holography theory, I put forward the above 8 aspects as a starting point. I cast a brick to attract jade. However, we can draw 80 or even 800 more examples. From a sample, you may judge the whole, make efforts to draw an analogy based on a theory, let the fire of inspiration twinkle everywhere and always, and grasp the secrets of life as early as possible. For years upon years, after days and nights with sunrises and sunsets, people have been living so, back and forth. Is this the time to change to a new lifestyle? If not, there will be no end to our troubles and suffering. Cosmic Holography I. Xiefeng. October 31, 2005. L. Try to pierce your toe with a needle. You will feel muscles tightening throughout your body and your brain will jump with an immediate emergency response. If a lover or your parents are next to you, they will also react promptly. Why? Because you are holographic. Turn your computer on and access the web. Global data will stream onto your screen as you search. Why? Because the internet is holographic. L. Arthritis sufferers can sense rain while the weather is still dry and many animals can detect seismic disturbances before the earth shakes. Why? Because the earth is holographic. L. The waning and waxing of the moon raises and lowers the tides, and sunspots directly affect climatic changes and the rhythms of life on the earth. Why? Because the solar system is holographic. Cosmic holography also means that the whole contains all of its parts and all of its parts contain the whole. Our bodies are constituted of 130 trillion cells and each of them contain all the information of the human body, that is, when they all assemble together, they constitute a complete human individual. Each cell is just an insignificant component, but when we divide them individually, each one can form a human body. Viewing them with Buddha's eyes, each of them is a complete human body with 5 senses, 7 holes, bones, hair, internal organs, 4 limbs, flesh, skin, and so forth. If we split a single cell, we will find that this inconceivable cell is made up of an equal number of even more inconceivable ones. Our complete image can be seen in a mirror, but if we break that mirror in half, then each half will reflect our complete image, that is, we will have 2 images. Break it in half again, and we will have 4 identical images, and so on. If we break this mirror into millions, billions, or even trillions of pieces, we will still see our complete image in each and every one of them. The number of potential images is countless. Even if a seed has not been planted in soil to take root, sprout, blossom, and bear fruit, its whole entity, the shape of its leaves, growth patterns, and so on can be seen with Dharma eyes. We cannot see the shape of a bud if we do not know what type it is and without referring to its blade with naked eyes, and we will not know how big it will grow, but we can see its size and shape by looking at it holographically. If you cut a growing leaf in half, then its whole image will be visible from the remaining half, and you can see its entirety from either half. All things are like this because the universe is holographic. Now that we know that the universe is holographic, our worldview and outlook on life will take a subversive leap. If we want to understand the Tao of Lao Tzu, the Dharma of Sakyamuni, and the thinking and scientific theory of Jesus, we will understand it thoroughly and at a glance, and our spiritual perception will open. Those with deeper roots can develop a series of special magical powers and arts and will feel at ease in dealing with the affairs of their daily lives. For example, one big distress in life is the love between men and women. Between lovers and married couples, one always expects the other to be faithful and pure, but if they learn that the other is having a secret relationship with a third party, then they become distressed and sad, and no matter how much effort the other exerts to vindicate themselves, "I love you just as much, I really do," it will be useless, because their credibility will have been lost. "You cannot be true to me if you also love that person," and "your love is false and the love that you offer me is incomplete," would be the responses. Their distress is caused by not understanding the holographic nature of the universe. From the holographic universe perspective, if someone loves several people, even hundreds, thousands, millions, or billions of people, their love for each of them can be complete, true, and absolutely complete. It is like seeing oneself in a mirror. There is one self in one mirror, 2 selves in 2 mirrors, and a billion selves in a billion mirrors, but each is complete. Buddha can incarnate and rescue trillions because Buddha knows that the universe is holographic and Buddha is holographic. Conversely, if I am loved by 10,000 women, even if they also love other men, but I believe that their love for me is wholehearted and complete, then I will gladly accept their love. Likewise, if I love 10,000 women, then my love for each of them can still be true and complete. Why should you have to cling on to just one? Life is short. Does it matter if you love more than one? Other truths can be inferred accordingly. In short, oneness of man and nature, universal holography, subtle wisdom, and depth of understanding reincarnate into trillions. 8 Ways Through the Mortal World. Xiefeng. June 21, 2010. Our universe consists of 20 parallel worlds within 36-dimensional space. Among these 20, our mortal world is designated as the XY world and manifests itself as 3-dimensional space. The 20 parallel worlds all have symmetry, as does all of 36-dimensional space. From the perspective of reincarnation and the evolution of life, there are high-level spaces such as the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium world, and low-level space such as the inflamed layer, the frozen layer, and the nether world. The mortal world is the midpoint at which they cross. It is a transfer station for the evolution and reincarnation of life between the higher-level spaces and the lower-level ones. This means that lives from low-level spaces advancing to high-level ones and those from high-level spaces falling to low-level ones must pass through this mortal world as a transfer station. The mortal world is a traffic hub just like the Zhengzhou railway station in China, where crowds come and go, back and forth, hustling and bustling each and every day, determinedly and actively. It is easy to see that apart from those who work there, they all scatter quickly to their separate directions and transfer to other cars, buses, trains, and airplanes toward their individual destinations, running along their ways busily. In the mortal world, chaos arises with constant fighting and struggling, each holds their own ambition, each has their own axe to grind, each administers in their own way, and each realizes their own wishes. As a temporary stage, each team performs its own show to the maximum, and as a temporary inn, passengers from different places stay briefly before parting company and going their separate ways, each pursues their own prospects. To pursue one's prospect of reaching their destination, they must proceed in certain ways. Without a good way or by choosing a wrong one, they will never reach their destination. Were they to board the wrong vehicle, their wish would remain just a wish, and their destination would remain out of reach. To be an entrepreneur, one needs to take the way of the market. To do business and make money, they must take the way of circulation, and to be a doctor, they must take the way of medical science and skill. Airplanes must taxi down runways, ships have to float on waterways, trains should run on railway tracks, and cars need to remain on roads and streets. From the perspective of the evolution and reincarnation of life, humans in the mortal world must take one of the following 8 ways and pass on to its associated destination. The way of the greatest creator, one models themselves after nature with holographic order thinking, open-heartedness, flexibility, and tact. They will rise to the celestial islands continent. The way of gods, one worships gods quite distinct from each other, bellicose, and domineering. They will advance to azure heaven. The way of Buddha, one pursues non-form and refines their concept of no abode for the mind and returns to the nature of Tathagata. They will ascend to the Elysium world. The way of celestial beings, one takes skepticism, non-dogma, and freedom as their first priorities and cultivates magical powers as their core. They will climb to the celestial beings' world. The way of humans, one pursues fame and material wealth, attaches great importance to family love and emotions, and remains fond of organization and power. They will return to the mortal world to continue their samsara and return as another human. The way of animals, one takes food, clothing, shelter, transportation, growing up, aging, health, and avoiding death as their first priorities of life, with the acquisition of money as their core value. They will descend to the animal world. The way of ghosts, one neither abides by rules nor laws, but conjures, lurks, and sneaks around like a ghost, speaks one way, but thinks and acts another, and is fond of hiding and good at lying. They will drop into the hell world. The way of Satan, one is fond of dwelling upon spirits and deities, fortunes and disasters, being ambitious and arrogant, blasphemes the greatest creator, and insults the gods. In order to achieve their goals, they plunge lives into abysses of misery, and destroy nature, by hook or by crook. They will fall into the inflamed layer or the frozen layer. Like attracts, birds of a feather flock together. The way that one takes depends upon their kind of consciousness and their life structure. Divine punishments are slow but sure, is also the arrangement and program of Tao. All have their duties and accountabilities, which make each and every one of them vivid and exciting. Whether they know it or not, each person takes their way, most are led along ignorantly and uncaringly, but a small number choose theirs clearly and plainly. You, who have read this article, should consider using it as a reference. If you discard what I wrote as groundless nonsense, then simply throw it away. You can even scold and criticize me, but if you feel that it has merit, then consider it as having value because you could benefit from it. Everything changes according to the human heart. Xie Feng. September 16, 2014. If the earth is a vast desert, the heavens will not bring rain. When the human heart is barren, the heavens will not bestow spiritual gifts. The justice of the Tao lies in its responsiveness to the human heart. What kind of heart we have determines what we receive. Long ago, a wealthy man wanted to start a business to benefit the local people. He went to a village but found the people there indifferent, so he left. He went to another place, where the people were difficult to deal with, so he left again. Finally, he arrived at a place where the people were sincere and kind, and he decided to set up his business there. The lives of the people in that area greatly improved because of this business. There was a wise and profound master with extraordinary powers and abilities. He traveled through many villages and towns in search of a disciple to inherit his teachings. He observed the land, the people's appearances, their speech, and looked for signs, but he never found a suitable candidate. Ultimately, his teachings were lost due to the lack of a proper successor. The universe is filled with many wondrous things, hidden within the ordinary. These wondrous things are as easy to grasp as flipping a switch, but they await those who are destined to receive them. These destined people are not predetermined but are chosen at random. However, there is a condition: these people's qualities must match the wondrous things they receive. As I often say, only a life of absolute beauty deserves to enjoy absolute beauty. When I first started Lifechanyuan, my mind was filled with countless wondrous things. However, as Lifechanyuan developed, I found these wondrous things gradually disappearing. Sometimes, my mind felt empty, devoid of anything valuable. This happened because Lifechanyuan repeatedly suffered harm and setbacks. My sadness grew as people not only disregarded my guidance but also questioned, criticized, insulted, and attacked me. My enthusiasm waned, and each time I felt disheartened, I asked myself, why should I reveal these wondrous things to people? Why should I pass on the mysteries of the universe and life to them? I even wondered if I should destroy everything I had already revealed. When I had such thoughts, I felt no regret for myself but pity for people. What is most laughable is that many believe my creation of Lifechanyuan is intended to gain power, replace the government, or trouble other religious and political organizations. A notable example is when, in Yunnan, a police officer candidly told me, "Everything you've started is good and ideal. I don't see any ambition in you, but the problem is, if Lifechanyuan continues to develop and grow larger, will it cause trouble for the government? Will it shake society? Can the government not be concerned?" Even more laughable is that many people say Xiefeng's goal is to deceive people for money and sex, and to seek power. It is truly beyond words. What can I do? With such hearts and people, I can only go with the flow, aligning with the thoughts and wishes of the government and the public. Explanations are futile. Human thoughts are one thing, and the realms of gods and celestial beings are another. Human thoughts cannot comprehend the realms of gods and celestial beings, just as a pig's thoughts cannot comprehend the realm of humans. The wisdom drawn from this is that everything changes according to the human heart. When the human heart is restless and chaotic, it gives you a restless and chaotic world. If people want honey, they receive honey; if people want dog dung, they receive dog dung. This makes people happy, and thus the Tao shows its justice. Many people worry about Lifechanyuan celestials and say, be careful not to be deceived by Xiefeng. He is a great fraudster aiming to deceive people for money and sex. Leave Lifechanyuan as soon as possible. Hearing such concerns, I am not angry at all. On the contrary, I calmly observe and am quite supportive of those who worry about Lifechanyuan celestials. Sometimes, it occurs to me, incite them. Stir them up. Let those who do not understand Lifechanyuan's values, whose faith and belief are unstable, and who are unworthy of enjoying the benefits prepared by the Tao for higher beings be led away. It's tiring to guide immature crops forward. It's better to let the wise ones who care about Chanyuan celestials take them away and lighten my burden. But then, I wonder, are there people in this world who truly are, I am doing this entirely for your good? The wondrous things are around us. Only those who are awakened can see them, and only those with pure hearts can obtain them. Feng Shui changes with the human heart, and the world changes with human hearts. I only hope that people pursue truth, goodness, beauty, love, faith, and sincerity. As long as one persistently seeks, the Tao will surely bestow corresponding good things. Everything I see is in perfect order. Xiefeng. May 12, 2014. The phenomena are myriad, the world is chaotic, disasters are frequent, and changes are constant. Friends turn against each other, kin harm one another, affections shift, and grudges transform. People rush and struggle, change happens hastily, there are conflicts and competition, hidden traps, separation, and disintegration. Old things disappear, new things emerge, everything appears dazzling and disordered, but to me, everything is in perfect order. Unable to decide, hard to judge, what should be done, torn between choices. When facing a situation, one's